Hello and welcome to the Rural Well. I'm Bridgette. I'm here with Lauren, and we are thrilled, as always, to have you with us. Today, we're going to talk about youth in mental health. And in fact, we even brought a ute with us to talk about it. And so, whether you are cleaning up your office, maybe you're cleaning out the barn today, are you driving home from a bull sale? Well, we are glad you are joining us because we had the well-being of rural areas like yours in mind when building this episode. We know ag as an industry has its challenges, but we are here right alongside you, and we cannot wait to connect and inspire one generation and legacy to the next. You know, Loren, we haven't always talked about youth. Often we focus on adult thoughts.
It's so interesting because I find youth are much more in tune with the needs of those around them, right? I'm excited for our young people. I know I hear some people are like, oh, it's getting really risky out there. Like, no, I think we have so many vibrant youth in agriculture. I think of our 4-H, organizations, and Sammy's going to talk a little bit about some of the organizations that she's partnered with and is working with. But, I'm excited, and I hope our listeners get excited too, because there's some really good things going on there. We have some excellent leaders coming up through the ranks in agriculture who I think will change a little bit of the outlook of agriculture. It might not be in the areas of profit margins. It might not be but in the areas of innovation and in the areas of well-being and in the areas of community and communication, we're going to see some positive changes for sure.
Boy, I think you're so right. So, Sammy, would you care to introduce yourself to our audience today?
Yes. So, hi guys, my name is Sammy. I'm a current sophomore at Kansas State University. But before that, I was a Kalinga FFA member hailing from the great state of California, where I started my project One Farm at a Time. One Farm at a Time has been my project since 2023, so it's been around a little bit. And we have done a couple things in agriculture mental health, from advocacy to education.
Okay, we need to ask a few background questions. So first things first, let's talk a little bit about who Sammy is. So Sammy, did you grow up on a farm, or what was your inspiration to be a part of an agricultural focused youth organization?
So I have a really kind of cool FFA story. My grandfather and my mom were both in the FFA, making me a third generation FFA member. When I first got into high school, I was kind of hesitant to be in the FFA. I had volunteered with them for about 5 or 6 years at the time, doing our community ag booth at our local county fair. So I was not new to the FFA organization at all, but I wasn't like the most excited to go into it. But my mom said I at least had to be in the FFA my freshman year of high school. And so I tried it out and I fell in love. My first big memory was going to Creed speaking. I was the only public speaker that year. And so going to a sectional competition all by myself with me and my advisor really kind of made me fall in love with the FFA, made me fall in love with public speaking. And I continued to do that all throughout high school. One Farm at a Time originally started from being a speech I gave my sophomore and junior year of high school. It was all about farmer suicide. And so that's what originally sparked the idea for One Farm at a Time.
Now, for our friends who are listening here in the US, the FFA is a familiar name in a youth organization. But, Loren, from your perspective in Canada, this might not be really as familiar as maybe 4-H.
No, when I first met Sammy, I was like, Google. and to be honest with you, at first it came up with the with the organization. It's like, oh, that must not be it. It's too big. And then I realized, oh no, Sammy, it is this big. It's a huge organization. I'm certainly very familiar with 4-H, and I know that you have 4-H in the US as well. And in Canada, it's one of our leading organizations. Within every individual institution, however, we certainly have community-led or student-led organizations like this, but not one of the national recognition that the FFH is.
So tell us a little bit about the background on the FFA, Sammy. So the FFA was started in the 1900s by a group of young farmers who wanted to come together, and we've had our first convention back then. We had our FFA Creed written by E.M. Tiffany. So the FFA, the best way to describe it is we are a three-ring model organization. We focus on agriculture education in the classroom, outside of the classroom, and the SAE project, and we also focus on leadership. So the FFA can do very many things. We are literally everywhere in every part of the country. We are all 50 states. We have over 1 million FFA members. And a couple of things I kind of want to highlight about the National FFA organization, this kind of clear some things up, make it a little bit easier to understand, is obviously we have the ag education, which is where we are in classrooms, we're learning. So ROP welding, so welding, ag mechanics, ag science, plant biology. We do all different types of sciences and ag related classroom work. And then we also have SAE projects, which are supervised agriculture experiences. So this is a project that can kind of range from very many different things an FFA member can be in outside of the classroom time. So we kind of focus on getting FFA members hooked in class, but also having them do things outside of class that will bring them different life skills. And then lastly, we have the leadership component, which can kind of range from being in different public speaking competitions. We have around 5 public speaking competitions that are classified as LDEs, which is leadership development event. And then we also have CDEs, which are career development events. So when you think of LDE, think more public speaking. And then for career development, think more something that can be applied to an actual career, such as we have vine pruning. There's different types of judging, like livestock judging, milk quality judging, very many different things. In some states, we even have apple judging if you're in Washington, which is a very cool thing to learn about. But the FFA is a huge national organization. We have 6 national officers. Each state has their own state officer team, as well as regional teams and sectional teams. Or if you're in kind of more the Midwest, they're called areas. I'm just basing it off of California right now.
That's fair.
But we do a ton of the FFA. So if you've ever seen livestock shows, FFA is typically always involved in that.
I always think about FFA as almost the next step with kids that have been in 4-H. You start out as a clever bud with 4-H, and as you get older, you might look for some different challenges or do both, where it could be 4-H and FFA. When it comes to this challenge of doing different things, Sammy, you chose to make this project that we're going to talk about your supervised ag experience program. What started this? Let's talk about what your project is and what your goals are with it.
Yeah. So what started it was, as in Gen Z, a TikTok video. I was just scrolling one night and a video came up of this kind of just farming background and this overlay text that said farmers are 2 to 3 times more likely to commit suicide than any other career path. And that kind of stuck with me. And so when I went to write my prepared public speaking speech, that would have been 2022, I kind of knew what I had wanted to write about. And so I wrote this huge speech about farmer mental health and what National FFA organization can do to kind of bring awareness and support the next generation of agriculturalists. And so I gave that speech my sophomore year of high school, and then it kind of just snowballed from there. I started the first One Farmer at a Time account March of 2023. I didn't really know what the ideas were with it. And then by 2024, I had kind of grown up a little bit and had a more clear and concise idea of what I wanted to do with my project. And so I sent kind of a call on Instagram basically saying, do I have any FFA member friends that just want to get on a secret project? I did not give any explanation about what this project was going to be. Just that I needed some help. And so I had about 15 FFA members from across the country. We had people in Alaska, in Tennessee, Kentucky, all across the country that wanted to get in on this project. And so when I explained what we were doing, had a lot of very excited people. And so we started our first social media campaign, which really hit on kind of promoting what ag mental health was, different resources. So the farmers hotline, farm aid, we had the obviously national suicide awareness number, all different numbers that could be used to call, and that we were here to kind of break the stigma in not only older generations ag mental health, but also getting FFA members to also realize that since they are the next generation of ag, their mental health also matters. That year, we also created our first Speak Ag video. So at the National FFA Convention, they give any National FFA member the chance to submit a about 3-minute video. And this video can be anything ag related. If you look it up, you can find a lot of kids who do like the top 10 commodities in their state or the top 10, like top 5 industries and different things within agriculture within their state. And so I got together with my FFA chapter and we filmed all about the mental health awareness in ag in California. And so that got played on the National FFA stage. I did not go to convention that year. The only reason I know it got played was because my face got on the big screen and I had people tagging me and calling me and saying they got to see our video while I was in class. And I was so excited that over 50,000 people got to see that video and learn a little bit more about ag mental health. And then as we've kind of grown into 2025, we posted a lot more different things about we had monthly themes. So each month had a theme. We did like journaling January, and each theme kind of related to a different mental health practice. So we had Moving May or March, where we taught and educated about different ways to move your body that can help with your mental health. And it all related back to improving mental health and raising awareness about ag mental health. And then this September, we started our second social media campaign about ag mental health, where we even created stickers that will, all profit goes back to the project and to eventually one day creating a scholarship fund for future ag mental health advocacy, where we can like support the next generation of agriculturalists through that. And then in December, we launched our first website and we were so excited. It took a lot of time for us to make it. A lot of love went into that website. So that is our first website. We all built it together. So it was a really good team building activity. Within One Farmer at a Time, we've also been recognized at our state assembly. I got to go in July of 2025, and we were recognized for the work that One Farmer and me and I have done in the ag mental health space. And so One Farmer at a Time, it's really cool to see how we have grown from just an Instagram page to now a full-fledged website and state recognition.
Boy, that really has changed for you. Wow.
Yes.
So, and I don't want to take up all the time here, Lauren. So if there's something you're thinking, don't let me just talk too much. Okay.
Well, I'm excited when I hear all that accomplishment. I hear so much enthusiasm, and like I'm curious, Sammy. What do you find most challenging in the work that you're doing in reaching? Like, are you finding that stigma is still an issue? Is it communication? Is it making sure, like, is there barriers for farmers, do you think, or young farmers to get help? What do you find is the most challenging piece of the work that you're doing?
There's a couple of things that come up. Obviously, the stigma is still big, especially when I've talked to older producers or older generations. I have given my speech and just talks at multiple Grange halls across the state of California. The Grange is the best way to explain the Grange is it's like the mother group of the FFA.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
you have 4-H, FFA, and when you graduate, you can go to Grange. So that's kind of the pathway I took. I got into the Grange my junior year of high school when we started our Grange chapter in my community. And so I've given a couple speeches with their organization. And I think you do have that stigma with the older generations, but you also have now, especially since the average age of a farmer is so old. Sorry for being me, but so old. They are now looking forward to getting involved with youth. So when I've come and given my talks, they're very excited to see, like, oh, there's someone talking about this who is young. And we aren't just hearing it from our people, we're hearing it from the young people. And so I definitely think as I've kind of gone further into this project, I've hit less of the stigma. A lot of the questions that I do get, however, are what are you really doing with this project? Like, what is your real plans with it? Because when you tell people you're just agriculture, mental health advocacy, there isn't a lot of like behind it at first, especially when we first were starting out. I did not know what I wanted to do with this project, but especially as it's gone forward and grown, I do know that we are planning to get registered as a nonprofit this next year. I've started
Mhm.
looking up that paperwork, but figuring out how to file it in the state of California. It's kind of difficult when I go to school in Kansas. I'm looking at who will sit on our board at some point and trying to make sure that we have all of our T's crossed and our I's dotted. And so we're hoping to get that done this year, as well as one of our big goals is to hold a workshop at some type of conference. We have debated between the state association, state conference, or possibly trying to partner with the National FFA and do a workshop at their national conference in October. We're kind of just playing it by ear as we have multiple of our team graduating this year, going into college. We're just kind of figure out where we all are this year.
When I was a sophomore in high school to a sophomore in college, I didn't know what depression was, much less start an organization for awareness where you could become a nonprofit where you are looking at hosting a workshop to help those around you as peers, as well as those who might be older than you and have come before. So first of all, kudos for that. I had no idea. I didn't have that on my radar. And as you think about this, Sammy, do you anticipate that the motivation within your group will continue long term so that as you get older, you get to keep taking this to the next step?
Yes, I really do. I think as we've kind of, obviously, a lot of us have gotten older and gotten a little bit more into the FFA, we've definitely, our motivation has grown. If you look at our posts from 2024 to 2025, we posted 10 times the amount that we did. And obviously, we built the website and we have a really good kind of role going. And not only that, do we plan to obviously stick with us six, but as we kind of grow, we're hoping to slowly bring on more FFA members so that a part of the organization can still be kept as an SAE project. And so we can start getting more FFA members involved. And that way, not only are we growing who's working for one farmer at a time, but we're also growing who's advocating for ag mental health at the same exact time.
You know, Lauren, is someone who literally has from scratch built an organization like the National Farmers Mental Health Alliance. Do you have advice for Sammy and her cohorts?
Well, I don't know about advice. I'm sitting here going, I can't wait till we turn off this because I want to be like, okay, Sammy, how do we partner? How do we help you? How do we support you? I don't know about advice as much as I'm excited for the work that you're doing. I think one of the big pieces when we built the National Farmers Mental Health Alliance is really understanding the pillars, the foundation of why you're doing what you're doing and where you want to go with it. And what I hear is, I know the why behind it. You're passionate about, you saw the statistics, you went, oh my gosh, but you're passionate about it because it impacts the people around you. And I think in agriculture, that's one of our key components is we do have this high level of social capital. Like we care about our neighbors, right? Like we care. It's so interesting to me. There was, fairly recently, there was a farmer fairly local to me that died by suicide. Of course, everybody's shocked. Nobody knew that he was struggling. I shouldn't say nobody knew, but the majority of people obviously didn't know. And the hundreds, people came from California. Hundreds and hundreds of people came to the funeral because it just guts us when we learn that so many people have suffered in this relative silence. I wouldn't say it's actual silence, self-induced. It's actually a byproduct of what we call coerced resilience. And I think we've talked about this on the podcast before, but coerced resilience is where farmers have to kind of fake it. Like we just keep going, we pull ourselves up by our bootstraps and, we keep working, when really authentic resilience says, okay, wait, we recognize like we are not in a good spot and we need some support. That's what authentic, true resilience looks like. And so I hear the passion, I identify with that passion. I'm like, oh, Sammy, you and I are two peas in a pod. I just based on, your heart passion for it. And the piece that we find, of course, when you're launching such a national attempt and such a national organization, which I congratulate you, and I am thrilled for you. And like I said, I'm looking forward to more conversations. It's understanding what is my real goal and how am I going to get there? And what are those foundational pieces in order to get there? So for us, as you know, and I'm not sure, Sammy, if you know much about the NFMHA, but one of the things we do is we train therapists to work with farmers. So that when a farmer does reach out for some sort of support, it's credible. Unfortunately, farmer mental health, at least in some countries, so in some countries in the UK, in Australia that we've worked with, and or not so much in Australia, in the UK we've worked with. I know it has happened in Australia and in Canada. There's some money that's gotten dangled, and so all sorts of people have flooded to that market saying, "Oh, I can do it." Well, you're not a farmer, and you don't understand our culture. You don't understand what it's like for us. The unique aspects. So it's really important that the help that is available comes from a culturally informed perspective. My sense and my feeling, my experience myself, I can sniff somebody out pretty quick who doesn't really get me. And it makes me shut that door really fast. I have had clients who go for counseling and they spend the whole session educating the therapist about what they do. And they walk away going, I just paid $120 or $150 or $200 to spend an hour telling somebody about agriculture. And so that's ridiculous. We can't expect that of our farmers. We need to make sure that so that's one of the pieces that we do. One of the other pieces we do is the workshops that Sammy talked about developing and that sort of thing. So that might be an area, Sammy, that we can, support you in the workshops you're developing. We teach a program called the Rural Watch program. And that program is designed to support farmers through we do like, we do some live action role play and we do some case studies and case discussions. And because the goal is the need for the hands-on piece, we certainly have a number of people who have gotten to the place where like, okay, I know the stats and I know what the problem is, but now what? And then people who have taken some other programs that are just kind of literacy and knowledge based, like, okay, that's good information, but now what? And so part of what we do is to make sure people have the actual tools to intervene. Like, this is what you can say. And if somebody responds this way, this is what you can do. Because I think a lot of farmers, they want to help out. Just as Sammy said, we have a number of people, our young people across Canada and the US, they know this is going on and they've seen it in their grandparents and their parents most often, quite frankly. And they recognize like we have to change something. But the problem is we can't change something if we don't give people the tools to do it. And so that's one of the mandates, of course.
Ladies, you know what I just heard? I just heard a whole list of resources for Sammy to be able to share through her social media campaign and to her website. And I just heard from Lauren a whole list of ideas and opportunities for our listeners of the podcast to be able to connect. We always say we want to give someone the resource. I think we just did.
Yeah. Yeah. And Sammy, I'm excited for you, and not just for you, but for your whole generation that's partnering with you. Cause I know that you said, well, there's 15 of us and some of us are graduating. I think you will cast that net a little wider. And there's many young people that are willing to come alongside. And my hope is people who are listening to this podcast will say, oh, I fall into that category. I want to support that. So, check our show notes because I'm sure you'll be able to. I'm really curious, Sammy, would you mind telling us some of your taglines there so that people can find you?
Yes. So you can find us at One Farmer at a Time on Instagram and now Facebook. I officially started the Facebook. I'm currently working on getting all of our posts kind of flipped over to Facebook as well, but you can find us at One Farmer at a Time on Facebook and Instagram. As well as, I don't know if the website will come up if you search up One Farmer at a Time. It should. I have not tested it out yet. But if you cannot find the website just on Google, it is in all of our bios on the Facebook and our Instagram, as well as if you do find my personal account on Facebook or Instagram, it will also be in my bio.
And what is that website?
It is onefarmeratatime.com.
Awesome. Thank you. I think that kind of brings us to the section about a quote. Sammy, I hope you bear with us here. Bridgette and I have a habit. Sometimes, just so you know, we debate it back and forth just a little bit. So don't feel like, oh yeah, we all just have to agree with this quote. There's an opportunity for us to kind of come at it from different perspectives. So feel free to do it. But the quote for today, and I'm not sure who the author is, so forgive us in advance. If you know who the author is, feel free to drop it in our chat box. But the quote is, "The mind is not a vessel to be filled, but a fire to be ignited." So the mind is not a vessel to be filled, but a fire to be ignited. What are your thoughts on that?
Kind of where my brain went with it was right to the FFA and went with the idea that the FFA kind of provides us the materials to start to get that idea going. Like the FFA provided me the opportunity to give speeches and prepare public speaking. And then that, because I had the opportunity, that it ignited the idea of one farmer at a time. And then it created the project and it just kind of snowballed from there. And so I hear like the brain is not a vessel to be filled. I really think of the FFA because they're not going at you to completely like, this is what you need to know. This is what you're going to learn. And we're just going to stick with the education. You're going to stay this one way. You're just doing it in class. They're getting you hooked in class so that outside of school, you can advocate for agriculture and ag education in completely different ways, explore what you're interested in, and gain life skills. And so I really go back to the FFA with that quote.
If we weren't talking to Sammy, I might not equate this to youth, but I do. And I think that when we are young, we fill our minds with all sorts of new information. But we ignite, just as Lauren said earlier, we ignite the passions in ourselves of what sticks with us for our entire lives and helps us learn and grow. And I think starting that fire now, so when it gets to be, when we get a little bit older, the embers don't cool off. I think that's what we're meant to do. And this is a passion project for you. It is it is for Lauren. And I couldn't be more excited to see that you have a whole team of people around you who want to do this work together.
Yeah, I agree. I actually love this quote because I think so often we anticipate that students are this empty vessel that we're meant to fill, but that's really not the case. We're meant to ignite curiosity. We're meant to ignite innovation because that's how this world is made more efficient. It's how barriers, for instance, barriers to accessing mental health, those are reduced when we have people who are willing to ignite a passion for learning, a passion for solving problems and things like that. So I love the quote. When I think about a vessel being filled, I think about a boat that gets filled up so much it kind of sinks actually, right? And so we don't want to sink any vessels. We want to ignite them that they can kind of go and change the world and also light the way for other people. When I think the word ignite, that's what Sammy's doing. That's what her organization is doing, right? You're going to light that vessel because it provides clarity for other people. It provides a passion opportunity for other people. So congratulations, Sammy. Well done.
Thank you.
All right. It's time to smile just a little bit. Put on your thinking caps because I have a last ending question for both of you. If you could have any book instantly memorized, cover to cover, what book would you choose? Now I'm going to knock one out right off the bat because we can all be incredibly noble and say the Bible. I think that's a tremendously noble proposition. But I don't know that I want to have it memorized. I think I want to go back to that all the time. So if there's another book that you could memorize, you guys, what is it?
I want to say a specific cookbook of mine, but
that's a really good idea though.
Yeah, like I'm always referring back and I've always got dirty hands and I go to touch the book and I got to, so I would love to have a particular cookbook. And I forget, to be honest with you, it's a book about learning to make different types of sourdough.
Oh, yes.
My friend had given it to me and I love the book, but it's so specific. It's like 25 grams of whole wheat, this and so all the weights are very specific. You have to measure everything out. And I'm constantly going back to that book. Yeah. But
That's a great book.
It's not very noble to say. I'm like, that's totally based on convenience.
That's okay. This is gut reaction and a little bit of fun. Sammy, does one come to mind that is it the FFA manual or do you have a better one?
There's two. I kind of have the FFA manual pretty well known. I've spent many days having to memorize what it says for exam public speaking, which is where you get just materials and you have to go in a room and hopefully your materials match the question they give you. So I've spent a lot of time on FFA manuals. I think the two that kind of came up to me is, I swear it exists, but it's a book of like all the laws in the US. I feel like that'd be so good to know because I don't want to be breaking any of them. In Kansas, if you're supposed to always stay on the right of the road. You're not supposed to ever be in the left lane unless you're passing. In California, you go in the left lane if you're going fast, and you're on the right lane if you're not going as fast. So that was something I didn't know when I went there. So either that book or I have an investing 101 book I've been slowly reading just to kind of learn about the stock market and learn about how to kind of grow investing as an 18-year-old. If I could memorize that and just know what I'm doing, that'd be really nice.
That sounds like a young person who's pretty determined. Well done.
That's an excellent aspiration, one of which we maybe all should have known at that age.
The other one I thought of is companion vegetables. You know, when you go to plant your garden and you're like, can I plant peas besides onions or peas beside corn? Or I'd love to have a book like that memorized. So I could just be like, nope, this is what we're planting. That's why some people like at this time of year, people start planting their garden to make sure all the companion plants are.
I'm already thinking about it. And you're right. What can I plant next to each other? What has natural repellents? What has an allelopathic response to another? Where can I put it? What can I do? I get
What's
what you're saying.
Soil for next year because I got to change things around. And yeah.
You know, it's not a book, but honestly, I remember having to do a elementary school Christmas concert. And we did it. We built it ourselves. We did skits based off the poem, "'Twas the Night Before Christmas." And to this day, I can probably recite "'Twas the," because I was one of the narrators. I think I can still recite that poem word for word. So maybe it's not a book. Sometimes it's a book, but it's mostly a poem. And there you go. There's my special skill. So I know that one.
That's awesome. Love that. Well, that brings us to the end, Bridgette. Sammy, it has been an absolute pleasure. I hope our listeners will check out our notes and look up your organization, One Farmer at a Time, as well as encourage you in the work that you're doing. It has been an absolute pleasure. Bridgette, feel free to close us out.
I'm so glad we got this opportunity to visit with Sammy as our guest today. And I'm looking forward to seeing how all of this progresses when she reports back to us and says, what's our next step? And did we make it to our nonprofit status? So, Sammy, thank you for being here today.
Thanks so much, Sammy.
Thank you for having me.